I mean, yeah, it's good, but it's not the best thing ever. Let me explain. So, as the second part of July superhero movies, we have Fantastic Four First Steps, preceding Superman, which I also made a review of, featuring Pedro Pascal, those other two people, and that one guy from The Bear. Jokes aside, Fantastic Four follows our usual heroes, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and The Thing, and as spoiler-free as possible, the movie is good. Is it groundbreaking? No. Is it the best superhero movie in years? No. Is it a... Why did I say no like that? Is it a really solid superhero movie that is really good at invoking certain feelings and vibes? Abso-goddamn-lutely. The movie's really good. Now, this is the spoiler-free portion of the video. So if you want to see the spoiler review, skip forward a bit. There should be an indicator. But to discuss the characters without spoiling the movie, I think that from the perspective of someone who never really got into the Fantastic Four as a kid, the characters are great. They do a great job at showing a family-like dynamic between the four of them. Plus, all of the actors killed it, in my opinion. But, to be honest, the movie does feel a little fast-paced. I think I remember hearing somewhere that some 30-odd minutes got cut from the final film, so that could be it. But the movie felt like it was going from A to B really fast. And if you don't like that kind of stuff, maybe watch out. I personally don't really like that kind of stuff, but I mean, it wasn't like egregious. It was just noticeably fast. But the best part of this movie, in my opinion, is that you're not going to need to binge watch any other movies, read any comics, anything of the sort. The movie is fully self-contained. That means that you can just walk into the theater and sit your pretty ass down and watch the movie. And I think that's really good. Most movies don't do that anymore, and it's the worst. I hate it. But that concludes my spoiler-free review. The movie is good, it's just fast. Now, get the hell out of here if you want to be spoiler-free. Now for the spoilers. Fantastic Four! Now, personally, I have a lot of thoughts about this movie as a whole. But one of the great parts of it is the dynamics, which, obviously, the family has to have good chemistry, but even more than that, none of the characters have their single-celled thoughts on another family member. For instance, Johnny and Ben will sort of rage bait each other throughout the movie, but that will get flipped around in another scene where they're messing around together on the spaceship pretending to be bored of Reed's plan. And with Reed and Sue, they clearly show how much they've come to know each other since the incident, which happened 4 years ago in verse, by the way, so we don't even have to worry about an origin story, although that is kind of a negative in my opinion. I'll touch on that later. I also just want to briefly say that the art direction is astounding in this movie. The sci-fi retro-futuristic design of Earth is just beautiful to stare at. And that's really all I have to say. This was added in like right at the end of the script. There was no point in this, I just wanted to mention it. Another really good thing is the group's powers. They all look visually amazing. Better than the trailer CGI did, at least. I think Charlie Moist Critical said it best. The CGI in the trailers must have just been unfinished because it looked much better in the final cut. I mean, that really says it all in my opinion. Johnny's flame mode and Ben's rockiness were definitely highlights. Although, the reason I don't throw in Reed and Sue is because for the majority of this film, they just don't use their powers that much. And to an extent, neither does Ben. Well, I mean, it's not like he can just not use his powers, fucking look at him, but he's not really doing that much super strength stuff throughout the movie. Not that it's really a bad thing, the movie puts itself in a place where they don't really have to use their powers that much. Johnny is the only notable exception because he uses his powers a lot while chasing after Silver Surfer or whatever her actual name was. And Shalabal, I think. There's also Galactus, and honestly, I was never that big of a Galactus guy. Like, I never really learned much about him. I gotta say, his Fortnite event was cool, but that's where my knowledge about him ends. But in this movie, he is really well done and cool. I really wasn't sure what to expect from him, especially considering images like this.
Now look here, you snag mouth motherfucker. I'm on the phone with the dentist trying to get you some teeth so you can eat some solid food. Keep on, you lizard!
But the way that they did it was super cool. Their powers evidently just weren't enough. Except for Sue, but that literally fucking killed her, so does that really count? They had to outsmart Galactus instead of just beating ass. And I think that was a good idea for the Fantastic Four. Because aside from Ben and kinda Johnny, Reed and Sue just don't seem like huge fight-oriented characters. The first fight scene we get from Reed is literally him Dying Light-style drop-kicking an orangutan. But back on Galactus, I knew pretty much nothing about him. And I think most of the general audience is like me, because Galactus is more of like a comic book and game character than movies usually. And the way they have you figuring it out with the Fantastic Four, it works pretty well in my opinion. But now is where I'm going to have to make my issues with the movie known. Namely, is the pacing just didn't feel right. Not at the start, at least. It felt pretty slow. Like, they didn't want to give you the origin story, but still wanted to keep you up to speed, so they had this talk show guy be like, you all know who they are, but then he follows that up with a, but just in case you don't, here's what you need to know. And then they spend like 5 minutes or so giving a boiled down explanation. And it's not the worst, I just think they could have divided up a bit of exposition throughout the movie. Like, I don't think we needed to know who the mole people were at the same time as learning who the Fantastic Four were. I know they were important later, but Jesus, tell me about them later. I know to some people that's going to seem kind of nitpicky, but it also affects the characters too, more specifically Silver Surfer and Johnny Storm's plot with her. In the movie, Silver Surfer is the Herald of Galactus, and we learn that she pretty much is like, hey, let me help you, and in exchange, let my planet live. And if I remember right, Galactus was just like, bet. And then he may have just lined them out anyway. I don't fully remember. It wasn't explained very well in my opinion. Anyway, at the start of the movie, after she tells the Earth, yeah, you guys are screwed, good luck with that, Johnny chases her into space, where she grabs him and says something in her native tongue, then throws his punk ass back down to Earth. And from there, and with a translation she gives him a little bit later, he decodes her entire language, and not just that, he becomes fluent in said language. And he uses that to pseudo-rage bait her into becoming a better person at the end. And I think the movie slowing down a bit could have definitely helped to make me believe that a bit more, but right now, there is just no way in hell that I think Johnny Storm could reasonably do that. But even that aside, Johnny hits her with a, remember how screwed you guys got? Why you gotta do the same thing to us? And that's enough for her to just fucking sacrifice herself at the end. And I think that could have worked, it just needed more screen time. Overall, I think the movie is pretty good. It's fun, it's definitely family-oriented, and I'm kinda worried Franklin will just become sort of a plot device like a get-out-of-jail-free card in Avengers Doomsday, but I guess we'll see. The movie isn't groundbreaking, and to be honest, even though it's not a competition, I liked Superman more. It's a very nice and fun movie though, and I'd recommend it to anyone who wants to see it. And that's all. I don't know what my next review is going to be, but subscribe so you can see it.